Hey guys, welcome back to Teal House Farm. Today we are going to do some planting. We are now putting our later spring vegetables and stuff into our main garden, and we are going to be doing starts today. I have some things that I start from seed in the actual garden, the direct sowing plants, but today we're going to plant tomatoes and peppers, things that we purchased already started for us. We're going to put those in the garden. But the first thing we need to do is trim back this crabapple tree. It's casting just a little bit too much shadow on that far side of our no-till garden bed we spent all that time building. So we're going to give it a little trimmy trim so that it casts a little bit less of a shadow so that we have plenty of room for our tomatoes and peppers. Just for a review, we've got lots of things in our early spring bed. We need rain so bad though. We've got potatoes here, and I've got carrots on the other side of these beds, and we're going to plant today on this side of the garden. Tomorrow in the back, we'll be doing direct from seed, things like cucumbers and squashes. And we also already have started over here. We sowed corn, and in about 2 weeks, we will also plant squash in between the corn, and then 2 weeks after that, we'll plant pole beans to climb up the corn. You find a ball? Are you gonna help me? All right, let's go ahead and get started. This shouldn't take too long at all, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow finally, so this is really a great day to get these starts in the ground. We can water them a little bit, and then they'll get a good soak tomorrow. Okay, so let's trim this tree. Now, I realize probably shouldn't have run the garden right up against the tree. I also fully realize that you're not supposed to technically trim fruit trees once they've bloomed. It's not going to kill the tree, it's just not the best for it. But when I built this garden, I kind of judged how far I thought the shadow would go, and then I underjudged it. So there's just an edge, and it's covering up a bit too much of the garden. So we're just gonna give them a little bit of a hack job on this side. This is a crabapple tree. I actually don't do anything with the crab apples. Some people do. You can make like jelly from them, but they're so little, and the seeds in them, they're just so big. It's not worth the effort, in my opinion. But they do help the apple trees pollinate. So they're worth having on your property if you already have a little orchard going on. But this guy just a little bit too big around the edge of my garden, so we trim them up, and then we just take the leaves or the branches we trimmed off. We're going to throw them in the woods there right on the outside of the garden and get them out of the way. Next up, let's grab our starts. We have a little tray here of the ones that I had bought at the store earlier this week, and they are ready to go. They're looking great. So we're going to start with the peppers first. I'm going to plant the peppers, I think probably about 6 to a row. You do want to make sure you have at least probably 10 to 12 inches spacing. You realize that these guys look small now, but they are going to get very big later. So don't cram them too close together, because you're just going to make your job harder in the future. I go ahead and mark out kind of where I want them to go first with the spade, and then I can start putting them in. So I pull them out of the pot gently, and then I go ahead and break up the bottom just a little bit so that the roots know that they're no longer stuck in the pot and they have room to grow. I have a variety of peppers here. We're going to do some yellow bell peppers, a sweet pepper, some green bell peppers, 3 jalapeno plants. I did learn from in the past when I've grown 6 or 7 that we just don't need that many jalapeno peppers. So we're only going to do 3 this year. We'll focus more on the bell peppers. I do can all pepper varieties, and that's something I love to have in the canning pantry. So we are going to plant probably about 12 pepper varieties this year. That'll give us plenty to eat fresh and lots to can for the winter. Pepper plants do need some support, so I have these pepper cages. They've been used for many years. You can tell they're kind of leany and bent, but they still do their job. So after you plant your pepper, you just go ahead and press them into the ground, and they'll just help encourage the pepper plant to grow straight up instead of flopping over to the side. Ivy has a little bit of trouble getting this one cage in, but she gets it, and then we can go ahead and get the rest put in. I'm too short, so I'll have to go back to the store and pick up 2 more, but these are really cheap. And if I really don't want to spend any money, I could always just use a stake like you use for tomatoes and stake the pepper plants up. We just want to prevent them from flopping over, because that'll damage the peppers. It'll also prevent the plant from being as bountiful as it could be. While Ivy finishes that, I go ahead and get started on planting the tomatoes. They're going to go in rows behind the peppers. I am a little bit of a bad homesteader in the sense that I didn't get out a measuring tape and figure out exactly how many plants I need, so I do end up a little bit short. So we'll have to go back to the store, probably get another 4 or 5 tomato plants, but that's okay. I'd rather be a little short and go back other than buying a few too many and just having to not have a place to put them. As far as the tomatoes go, I also got several varieties. I got 2 varieties of big slicer tomatoes, and I got 2 varieties of smaller tomatoes. So one is like a Roma, which is more of a paste making tomato, and then I also got some cherry tomatoes, so I really like just eating those right off the plant. For tomatoes, I don't can them as I harvest. We eat some fresh, and I'll just freeze the extras, and by the fall I'll have a huge freezer full of just bags and bags of tomatoes. And when things slow down in the fall and there isn't a lot to do on the homestead, that's when I'll do my canning. I'll take all those bags of tomatoes out, let them defrost a little bit, and the skins will fall right off, and they'll be perfect for making sauce. So don't feel rushed once you start picking tomatoes that you have to can them as you're picking them. Depending on what you want to can, with tomatoes they do great in the freezer. All right, they're all done. There's all my leftovers. We'll save those. I always use those pots for things, repurpose them. And it's looking great. Tomatoes still need to be staked, but that's a job for a different day. And there's the empty spot. I want to do one more row of tomatoes right there. Let's give everybody a good water down so that they're happy in their new home. We'll turn the hose on, and we got to drag it around the side of the house to our garden plot. Sam was telling me yesterday that this is the driest April on record for several years. It was a long time. I can't remember how many years, but we've definitely been feeling it. The plants will live with just being watered from the hose, but they really need the water from the air. It has more nitrogen in it and other minerals and nutrients that they need, and it really makes plants grow better. Water from the ground will keep them alive, but it doesn't help them thrive. So hopefully the rain they're forecasting tomorrow actually comes, because it would just be so good for my garden. We've worked hard to get everything started and everything planted. Now we need Mother Nature to do her job and give us a little bit of help. There we have it. That was pretty simple. It took me like maybe 20 minutes. Little steps at a time with gardening. You guys all know it took me like 3 months to build this garden because it was just a little bit at a time. And then I've been planting it slowly over the last few weeks. And so we're getting there. Tomorrow we'll do some things from seed, and I think I need to buy a few more tomato plants to fill in the rows. But you can fit quite a bit you can fit more than you would think in a smaller space. So don't feel like you have to grow a gigantic garden to grow a reasonable amount of food. Some of it's just about varieties you choose, things that don't need as much space, or things that are high production. So some of it's just smart choices, small spaces. So thanks so much for watching. We will see you all soon.